Hey, so today I want to get a bit nostalgic when it comes to the horror genre, that is. So when I was a teenager, me and my then girlfriend, now wife, would go and rent movies like from the video shop, like rent DVDs for years, for way too long, up until about 2015 when shops just like didn't exist anymore. Yeah, we kept at it. It was some of the only people that probably did at the time, I suppose. But yeah, the thing that we really loved to do though as teenagers was get a bunch of horror movies, like just the gnarliest, craziest shit. That's kind of what we were looking for. So we saw a lot of low budget indie stuff and that kind of thing. Sure, that didn't really mean that much to me at the time. I didn't really care that it wasn't Hollywood. I just wanted horror. I didn't really consider much beyond that. But looking back, like, I think it kind of gave me a healthy view of, yeah, indie movies, low budget stuff and all that kind of thing. And, you know, looking back, I've got a profound respect for these types of films. And I definitely have a big nostalgia for these just horribly violent, just dark films. And they weirdly like give me a, you know, a warm feeling in my heart or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to go through some of the movies that I own on DVD, just talk some horror. I don't know, if you're into that kind of thing, if you like the movies that I generally recommend on this channel, you might very well be into these. If not, I don't know what to tell you. That's what this video is going to be about. Alright, so the first one that I've just got a random pile here. It's not in any particular order or anything, but yeah, just the first one on this stack that I've got here. And I'm pretty sure, just by the way, just before I do it, I got all these from video shops themselves, like when they were closing down and stuff. Like, so yeah, I don't know. They've got their stickers. This is the first movie I'm going to talk about. They've got their stickers with the genres and stuff over here. They're all in bulky, big, ugly cases and stuff because they're the cheaper versions of it and all that kind of thing. But it kind of adds charm to it, right? It kind of reminds me of where I started, cinematically, I suppose. Well, maybe not started, but I don't know. I'm nostalgic for some of these movies. Let's get to it. So the first one that I've got in this pile is this one called No One Lives, which stars Luke Evans, the dude who plays Gaston in the 2017 Beauty and the Beast movie. And it's hilarious. Is that how I should describe a movie like this, entitled No One Lives? Like, it's quite dark. It's quite horribly violent at times. There's this one part where the hero, I guess we will call him, even though he also is a violent killer, hides inside of a man. Like, he hides from like the other bad guys inside of a dead body who he just killed, and then once the bad guys go away, he emerges out just dripping with blood, just covered entirely in blood. It's quite horrible. It's quite horrible, and I like it. The first time I saw that, I don't know, me and my wife thought it was quite funny, and maybe you're not supposed to think things like that are funny, but here we are. But yeah, it's a cool movie. It's just about how much of a badass killer Luke Evans in the movie is, pretty much. How he kind of takes revenge after these people that were trying to get at him first. And it's fun. It's a fun kind of revenge thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like your Taken. It's kind of like your John Wick, I suppose, but it's got much more of a horror edge, and it's much, 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 much more violent than those. Oh, well, I guess John Wick is pretty violent, but, you know, it's violent in a different, bloodier way than an action-y way, if you know what I mean. The next one that I've got here is this one called Splinter. And this one is about these people who get trapped in like a petrol station, a gas station, as the Americans would say. And there's like this weird virus type of alien creature thing that's like spiky. and it makes you spiky if you have it. It spikes through your skin and all this stuff. And it's super low budget. It's not the best movie that's ever existed. I will wholly very much admit that. But it's fun. To be honest though, when I did rewatch this a few years after having liked it quite a lot, I was a bit disappointed. It didn't quite hold up as much as I was expecting, I have to be honest. But I still have that nostalgia for it because I watched it when I was a teenager for the first time. I don't know. Again, I'm just nostalgic for these weird random horror movies that I would have watched throughout the years with my wife. Next up is one that my wife showed me, Dead End. This one is so corny and silly, and I don't know. It's not like good, but I very much enjoy it. It's like this classic kind of horror story, the kind of thing that you would read online or whatever, kind of like Slender Man or whatever. It's kind of like a 10-year-old's nightmare. That's kind of what this is. It's about a family who's going to or from like a family gathering, I don't know, Thanksgiving or some shit. So they're just driving down a road at night, and soon enough they begin to realize that like it just keeps going. They never get to their destination. It's a road that's just, it's an infinite road of darkness and creepiness, and they meet creepy characters along the way and all this kind of stuff, and things get dark, and it's really fun. It's just like this fun ghost movie type of thing. I think it's really, really corny. It's like pretty cringe and stuff. Also, I've got it in this really ugly bulky case thing and everything, but I dig this movie quite a bit. Yeah. Next, I've got kind of a double feature kind of thing. This is from this thing called After Dark Originals. I don't quite know much about this company or whatever, but I remember that we were super into these, me and my wife, a few years ago. Well, quite a few years ago, I guess, actually, like 8 years ago, maybe. And this was a series with 8 films to die for, where it was just a series of just these horribly horrific, violent movies, which is pretty much exactly what we were looking for at the time. So first, I talked about Husk recently, actually, on my channel. This one, it's just a creepy scarecrow movie, but I remember it being fairly good. I haven't watched it for a few years, to be honest, but I remember it being pretty good in terms of like considering what type of, like, it's a bit of a cliche, but like it's a pretty good cliche, I suppose. And this one called The Task, it's about like a reality show where they have to survive a night in like a haunted mansion, but then of course, you know, things start going wrong. I like this one quite a lot. It's really fun. This is a good one if you're into this kind of genre. And the next one I've got in my random sorted pile here is called Exam. This is a bit different because it's not really a horror movie per se, exactly. It's more of like, I guess, well, like the sticker says here, it's more like a slow thriller type of thing, but things go wrong. So it's about this certain group of people who are going in for a job interview, and they're set to do this exam thing. But what pursues when the timer starts is that they are given no instructions. They're given a pen and a paper, and that is it. And there are certain rules that they have to follow, and there are certain things that they can't do, otherwise they get eliminated. And it's just kind of a clever movie. It's kind of ridiculous in some ways, and some of it, like, I don't know, I guess it's a little bit silly, but I remember this one just blew my mind back in the day when I watched it for the first time. And this is a genuinely pretty damn good movie, actually, I have to say. I would recommend seeing it. I don't want to give too much away though. Just, they're going in for this exam thing. They're given no instructions except for a few rules that they have to follow. If they break those rules, they are eliminated and it gets dark. That's really all I want to say. Yeah. Next up is this one called ATM, which has terrible reviews online. Absolutely atrocious. People do not like this movie at all, apparently anyway. I quite do, to be honest. This one's got Josh Peck, the dude from Drake and Josh, for some reason as well. Just a note, just something to add. So yeah, this one's about these people that are stuck in like this ATM building. It's not something I've ever seen before in real life, I don't think. But maybe that's a thing, whatever. But it's like this building in like the middle of a car park type of thing. That's just dedicated to having a few ATMs in there, I suppose. Anyway, but yeah, they're stuck in this place because of this, you know, serial killer dude, like dressed in like a full-on winter hoodie, like a snow... You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, it's just kind of cool. It's good to see, like, you know, the tensions rise between the victims and like how they collaborate to try and outsmart the killer and stuff. It's kind of like cat and mouse between, you know, them and the killer and that kind of thing. And it's sort of fun in that way. This one's, you know... I mean, it's probably not good. I don't know. People don't think it's very good. It's got terrible reviews and all this stuff. But for some reason, I like it. And you know what? I even watched it kind of recently-ish, and I still liked it. So either I'm an idiot, which is very possible. I won't rule that one out. Or this is actually pretty good and doesn't get the credit that it deserves. I don't know. Next up on my list is this one called The Loved Ones. You might have heard of this if you're into this genre, because this one's kind of popular, weirdly. Like, I don't really know why. It's kind of weird that it's popular, but it does have kind of like a cult following, I suppose. I also find it pretty funny how it's like, because I got this from an Australian video shop, like the genre listed on the sticker thing is just Australian. like what? Like as if that's not the default here, which look, I guess it's not, because, you know, Hollywood reigns over all. America is the one that's where movies come from. I know. But it's still just, I find it kind of funny. It tickles me. It tickles my fancy. That's not how you speak. I just find it funny how it says Australian, like that's a genre. But either way, whatever. This is like I guess a like torture porn kind of movie. If you're into that kind of thing, you'll probably like it. But if you are into that kind of thing, you've probably already seen it. That's the thing about these kinds of movies. If these are the things you seek out, then you've probably seen all of the notable ones. You know what I mean? I personally think this one is a little bit overrated though, actually. Because, like, it is kind of popular, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know, I don't think it's better than any other kinds of movies in this genre. I mean, it's good, it's well acted and all that kind of stuff, but I do think it's a little bit overrated. But it's still a good example of the types of movies that I would have watched when I was a teenager, exactly the type of thing that I was looking for, so yeah. Next up on my random assorted list stack of movies is this actually really legitimately good one, P2, which is about this woman who is stuck in, like, a car park, like a multi-level car park thing, and it's a Christmas movie, a Christmas horror movie, which is always kind of fun. And she is stuck, you know, in this car park thing, like she's trapped by this killer guy who's played by the bad guy from the first Hunger Games, not the President Snow dude, but the weirdy, twistedy, beardy man. You know that guy? Yeah, he plays a good, like, psychopath type of killer guy in this movie. And, like, it's cool. This is another one where they're stuck in one location. That's just like a thing I'm starting to say. I like that kind of thing. I don't know. But yeah, this one's pretty good. I would recommend this one legitimately. Next up is one that me and my wife really liked back in the day, called Insanitarium. Now, it is kind of a generic zombie movie, I suppose, but the difference is, again, they're stuck in one place where they're in, like, this mental ward facility type of place. And there's, like, you know, evil businessmen, corporations and stuff, like, inserting the zombie virus and stuff for whatever reason. And it's just kind of campy, silly stuff like that. And also, this one's really violent. Like, I mean, that pretty much goes for almost every movie that I'm mentioning here, except for maybe Exam. Every movie is violent, but this one, like, I think it's because it's set in mostly, like, white rooms, just blank white canvases, ready for blood to strongly contrast with everything else that's going on. That's kind of what this movie is. It's white with blood everywhere, and it's just kind of, it's awesome. It's really chaotic, and it's fun, and, like, I don't know, it's probably not good. It's probably not the best thing you'll ever see in your life, but if that does sound like your kind of thing, I would definitely recommend it, and I know that this one definitely doesn't have the attention that, you know, a lot of movies have. This is definitely a low budget, fairly unknown type of thing. So yeah, I thought I'd give it the spotlight for a second. Yeah, that one's really fun. And maybe these movies shouldn't be considered fun or described as fun because they're horrifically violent. But like I said, I've got that weird, heartwarming nostalgia for horrifically violent movies. That's what happens to you when you watch that stuff when you're, you know, younger or a teenager or whatever. Next up is a great series of films, the Wrong Turn series. If you have not seen the Wrong Turn series, I highly recommend it if you're into this kind of thing. It is very corny. It is very just dumb fun. And it's about, every single one of them is like a typical slasher thing. People get stuck in the woods or whatever, and there's like crazy hillbilly cannibal people, but they're like kind of mutated or something as well. I guess the implication is that they're inbred. But yeah, these movies are like super fun. Number 2 here is probably my favorite one. This one's about like a reality show that's like a rip-off of Survivor. But, you know, instead of getting eliminated from the show that they're shooting, they're getting killed by the hillbilly cannibal guys. And so it's just kind of silly in that way. Number 3 is about these prisoners who escape from like a prison bus as they're transitioning to another prison or whatever, and they get taken out one by one. But number 5 is insane. Number 5 is set in like this carnival thing that's going on, and it's just like the fucking hillbilly guys wreaking havoc, killing people left, right, and center at this carnival place. And it's just great. It's so damn good. These movies are so silly, but big recommendation recommend if you think you would like this kind of thing. Yeah, I really do. Number 1, by the way, I find a little bit boring. I don't really have it. I've only got these 2, 3, and 5. 1's okay, but it's a bit generic, but I might get 1 at some point. 4 is kind of just like half the movie, they're just like having sex and stuff, and it's like, why is this not a horror movie? I don't like it. 4 sucks. And number 6 is sort of the same. It's just not as good. I don't know. But 2, 3, and 5, probably 1, I would definitely say give a watch. Next up on my list is this one called Amusement, which I don't think I really like that much anymore, to be honest, but it's a perfect example of the types of movies that I would have been seeking for when I was a teenager. And I think it's noteworthy because it has some pretty damn memorable imagery in it. Like, there's this one part where he rips like a rat's chest open and stuff, and it's just horrible. It's really unsettling. It's really gross stuff. But I don't know. It's another example of the types of movies I would have been watching, so I thought it was worth a mention. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it that much, but if you can handle that kind of gorier shit, maybe you'll like it, you know. I don't know you. Also, do you like the weekly rental sticker on the cover there and all that stuff, you know? These cases are just these cases are kind of the worst, but they add charm. They're bulky, they got stickers all over them and stuff. Next up is this one called Antisocial, which is kind of more of a respectable indie film type of thing in this genre. I mean, it's still a silly horror movie and stuff. It's still pretty violent, but yeah, I remember this one being pretty good. I haven't watched it for a few years though, so that could take that with a grain of salt, because, you know, if the last time I watched it was when I was a teenager, well, I don't quite trust my teenage tastes. You know, I was a dumbass when I was a teenager, weren't we all? Next up is Panic Button in the ugliest, biggest, bulkiest case ever. This is another one that I haven't seen for a few years, to be honest. But this one's like, it's set on a plane and they have to like play a deadly game or whatever, where they have to like, I don't know, gouge their eyes out or whatever the fuck. And they win money or something. I don't know. I don't fully remember, but it's just another classic example of my teenage taste. And it's because of my wife, just by the way. She was the one that pushed horror onto me. And because of that, we fell in love with horror together, renting them like every week and everything, trying to see the craziest, most violent movies and stuff. It was just a fun time. I don't know, it was just the kind of thing that we like to do together. Okay, I've only got another couple too here. You've probably heard of this one, Roadkill. It's a little bit more famous, I suppose. You know, it's got some more famous actors in it like Paul Walker and stuff. And in America, just by the way, if this is looking strange or whatever, it's called Joyride in America. I don't know why the name changed. Maybe they thought Australians didn't say Joyride. Maybe Australians don't say Joyride. I don't know. I'd just say like road trip or something. I don't know. But this one's about these people going on a road trip and there's a crazy truck killer who's following them the whole time. And it's really iconic in a way. Rusty Nail is the killer's name, whose face we never see. And we get introduced to him as they're pranking him. Paul Walker puts on this weird girl voice and all this stuff.
Well, Rusty Nail, I hope you're doing better than I am. Man, this drive, it seems like it's taking forever.
It feels very generic when it comes to horror, but it's well done. This one's kind of just a classic in my mind a little bit. I don't know how well known it is, I'm not sure, but I always kind of liked this one, so. And the last one that I've got in my pile here is this legitimately really good one called A Perfect Getaway, which again is a little bit more classy. It's got some famous actors in there. Chris Hemsworth is actually in this for a little bit, and this is from like 2009 or something, before he was famous. It's got Steve Zahn in there, and he was also in Roadkill, and it's got Timmy Oliphant and what's her name, Mila Jovovich, the one from Resident Evil. Anyway, but this one's kind of like a murder mystery thing, kind of like Scream or whatever, like a slasher thing, but it's like a bit more mature, you know, it's about adults and stuff. And this is another one I just realized where they're stuck in one location, sort of. They're on an island. So, you know, it's not quite as, what's the word, like restrictive as other places. They're not stuck in one building or one room or whatever, like some of the other movies I've mentioned. But they are stuck stuck on an island with a killer and that kind of thing. But this one's more of a mystery. It's more of a thriller, as it says up there. And it's kind of like twisty and turny and that kind of thing. It's not quite as violent as the others. It's not quite as focused on that side of horror. But, you know, I don't know. I think this one's legitimately really good. I've watched this one quite a few times. And if you haven't seen it, like, you know, it'll probably surprise you with its twists and turns and all that kind of stuff. I actually quite highly recommend this one. And so, yeah, that's the last one that I've got in my random pile of horror movies. I just wanted to talk about some movies that, like, I liked when I was younger, I guess. And, you know, I also wanted to give a spotlight to some of these indie stuff and all this shit that I bought from video shops back in the day. Because, you know, I don't know if you've noticed or whatever, if you watch my channel and stuff, like, I love superheroes. I love superhero movies and Hollywood blockbusters and all that kind of stuff. I love all sorts of movies, but I often try to not talk about the thing that everybody else is talking about all the time. So I try and give other movies attention. I try and focus on horror sometimes. I try and do some indie stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? I don't always want to just be talking about, I don't know, Iron Man and Captain America or whatever, that kind of thing, which I also love and which I also talk about from time to time as well, as you would know. But yeah, I don't know, horror, that's just what I wanted to talk about today. So hopefully you enjoyed that. So if you don't like horror, sorry, maybe my camera presence is enough to make up for it. Maybe you just love me, maybe, I don't know. Hopefully. Yeah. And if you're into the genre and stuff, definitely check some of these out if you haven't seen them and everything. But in the meantime, do the things. You know what the things are. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Farewell. Goodbye. Horror. I don't want that. Guns aren't horror. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to end videos. Okay, bye.